Hi, everybody. So our next kind of topic within the unit, again, this is not like a new unit, but we're going to be working with the mean. And so it's called working backwards with the mean, and it means basically I give you the average of a number, but there's a number missing in the data set, for example. And so it says sometimes the question won't be to find the average or the mean, but to find one of the missing values given the mean. So it's kind of like I'm giving you the end goal about what the average should be. And the question doesn't come from, okay, what's the average of these numbers, but rather like what number makes this data set complete, knowing the average. And a lot of these questions can be configured into word problems, and they're very common in the SAT. And we're going to be doing a lot of practice questions with this concept of working backwards from the mean. All right, so this is just day one, an introduction video on it with some example problems. So, working backwards from the mean, example one. Common question here. Example, in math so far, I have gotten these test grades. I got a 90, I got a 68, and I got a 73. And so a question could be like, all right, I have one more test coming up, and I want my average to be blank. What would I have to get on this last test to secure that average, right? And so the question here is like, all right, I have the average, but I don't know what I need to get on the last test. And so our job is to figure out, all right, what do I need to get on this last test to have an average of 80? And so there's the question, this circle right here. I want to end the quarter with an average of an 80. What do I need to get on the last test? And this data point down here says maybe pause me right now, how would you solve this or think about this? And there's a lot of different ways. And so I kind of want to maybe hear from you when you're next in person, maybe jot down an idea. How would you go about this problem? I have 3 tests so far. I'm taking one more. I want to get an 80. What do I need to get on the last test to secure that average of an 80? All right, I'm going to show you 2 methods right now, and you can kind of decide which one works best for you, or if you have another one. I look forward to hearing about it. So method 1 is to use algebra, our favorite, all right? So this equation or formula to solve an average is basically add them up and divide by however many things you have, right? So we need to sum these numbers. So 90 plus 68 plus 73 plus something I don't know. And whenever I say something I don't know, in algebra we call that x, or we give it a variable, okay? And now to take an average, I need to divide by how many things I have. And I have 4 tests so far, so you're adding these up in the numerator, and you're dividing by 4, and you're setting it equal to the average that I know, right? I know that I want to end the quarter with an 80. So you add all these things up, there's my x, there's my divided by 4, and you set it equal to the average. So if I get my pen out over here, you are going to see this is where the average comes in. I know that I want an average of 80. Okay, so I have my average of 80 over here on the left, and now I'm going to solve this algebraically. So I want to get rid of this 4, right? And it's being divided, and so to undo a division, in algebra we learned we are going to multiply by 4. And so whatever we do on one side of the equation, we have to do on the other. And so what's going to happen is, so I just simplified these 3 down, combined like terms. These add up to 231. Okay, so now I'm ready to get rid of this 4. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides. And what's going to happen up to these 4s, boop, they cancel. Okay, and so now I get left with 80 times 4 gives me 320 equals 231 plus x. And now I just have one more algebraic step to get rid of this 231 and move it to the other side. It's being added. The opposite operation of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 231 from both sides and get what I need to get on my last test. X equals 89. So I need to get an 89 on my last test to secure this average of an 80. All right, so this is the algebraic method. Notice how we multiplied on both sides. We canceled our 4s. We had to do some subtraction. We combined terms initially to start. And here's how we got x equals 89. I need an 89 on my next test. All right, moving on. Another method is essentially just algebra, but I'm combining some steps in my head. And so what that means is this is all about working backwards, right? And so normally to take an average, you would add them up and divide. But backwards kind of hints at opposite, right? We're kind of doing the opposite operation when we solve for algebra. So instead of dividing, what I'm going to do is multiply. And so I say, all right, there's 4 tests, right? And I need to get an average of 80. And so instead of dividing these things, I'm going to multiply them to get the total amount of points. So I do 80 times 4, I get 320. That's the amount of points that these tests have to add up to. And I know I already have, 90 plus 68 plus 73, I already have 231 points. And so all you need to do is say, okay, well, I need 320 points. I have 231 points. That leaves me with 89 points I still need to earn, and that's just the average I need to get on my last test. So I need an 89 on my last test to secure that average of an 80. And so here I just kind of did all the algebra that I just in the last slide in my head, where I realized, all right, the average is 80, but I have 4 tests, so instead of dividing, I multiply. 320 is the total. I earned 231 points so far. I subtract those two numbers, and I'm left with a score of 89 on my last test. Okay? And so there are other ways, and so this slide is just meant to pause and maybe write down in your notebook any way that you thought about this, and we can kind of have a discussion if anyone has different methods. Averages are pretty cool, and there's a lot of ways we can conceptually think about this, so I'd love to hear from anyone who has a different idea. But so far we have algebra in kind of like an algebraic way, but mostly done in your head. All right. I have a couple more examples that I want to get in our notes. And number 1 is about Jada. And so she wants to get at least a 90 average in the year in geometry. And here are her grades so far. So pause here, try this, and come back for the answer. All right, so hopefully you tried this one on your own. Her 3 grades so far are a 92, an 84, and an 89. And so we have to ask, what do we need on the 4th test to get an average of a 90? And so how I would do this is I did it the second method I showed you with algebra, but mostly in your head. So far, how many points did she earn? Basically add up 92, 84, and 89 to get a total of 265 points she's earned so far. So when I add these 3 numbers, I'm getting 265. And now with 4 tests again, I'm taking the 90 average she wants times 4, gets me a total of 360 points she needs. And now all you're left to do is subtract. 360, take away 265, leaves her with a 95, so her quarter 4 average has to be a 95, and that way she will end the year with a 90 average for the year. So 95 is the answer. Hopefully you got that. I'm going to do 2 more examples. Find the value of x in the following set. Here's our set. It is 5 numbers, and I gave you the average. The average is 19. This one has an x already, so I'm going to go with the algebraic method I showed you in method 1. So we have negative 3 plus 10 plus 22 plus 28, and I'm just putting the x on the end, equals 19, and don't forget to divide. Whenever you take an average, you divide by how many numbers you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 numbers, so I'm dividing by 5. And so now go ahead and combine like terms. Negative 3 plus 10 plus 22 plus 28 gives me 57 plus x divided by 5 equals 19. And now I need to get rid of this 5. Well, whatever you do on one side, we're doing to the other. I'm multiplying by 5 on both sides. These 2 are going to cancel. 19 times 5 gives me 95. 57 plus x equals 95. And now we're just subtracting. 95 take away 57 is x equals 38. So 38 is the answer for example 2. Hopefully you paused and were able to do this before me, but 38 for example 2. All right, the last one, Jay, he's running a 400-meter dash. Here are his 5 last times, and we need to figure out what he needs in his next race to get an average of 76. With this one, the only reason it could get tricky is the fact that our table only shows his last 5 scores. And so what we would want to do is kind of make another column here. This is his 6th game, or his 6th run, and so you would need another x here. So instead of dividing by 5, right, he's running 1 more race, so we need to make sure we divide or multiply by 6 here. So the average he wants is 70 seconds. So we're taking 70, and we're multiplying it by 6, because that's how many races he's going to run total, to get us 420 total. And so now you can see, all right, how many seconds does he have so far? You're adding up all these, 65, 68, 71, 67. 65, 68, 71, 67, and 72. He has a total of 343 so far. And so now I just subtract. In his next race, to maintain an average of 70 seconds, he needs a time of 77 seconds. All right, so here I did that second method where I kind of like found the total by multiplying and then found what he had and subtracted. So this was like the algebra, but in your head method. Hopefully these were okay. Again, we're gonna practice these on our next in-person day. See ya.